a great staff here.
Yeah,
so I'm going to start you off. Okay. I just want to mention.
In order, I'm not going to be able to really sample.
No, that's fine.
From out here.
This is one of my favorite displays that I saw set up, and I've tasted a lot of samples today, but these guys really are unique. And I want to introduce Mike, who is representing. How's it pronounced?
It's called Buchi, B-U-C-H-I, Buchi Kombucha.
So that's an influence from where? It sounds like an Asian-esque or something.
Kombucha is a drink that's been around for thousands of years. The first written origins are from the Far East, but really we think it's been around a lot longer than that, because humans have been around for a long time and we've been fermenting foods for a long time. So we think it goes back many thousands of years.
When I tasted it yesterday, it felt like it could have been a beer, or a root beer at least, right? And it's got that kind of fizz.
Yeah, so kombucha is a fermented product. The way we make it, it's an organic black tea, and it gets fermented very much like a lambic-style craft beer. It's an open-air fermentation. It's 4 to 6 weeks long, and during the fermentation, there's a probiotic culture, just like what's in yogurt, which eats the alcohol which forms, the sugar, the caffeine, a lot of the tannins in the tea, which produces the finished product that you tasted yesterday. But in that process, it does acquire the same kind of bite that a beer or a cider would have. It's sweet, it's tart, it's bubbly, it's got kind of like that effervescent punch of a fermented craft cider or craft beer. And so kombucha kind of like is a hybrid of all these different, it kind of tastes like a cross between tea, soda, juice, cider, champagne. It's pretty much a whole new flavor for most people.
So kids love it, I would imagine, because it's got all that good stuff going for it. But I'm going to ask you about the sugar in factor in this. How much sugar is there usually in something?
In a 12-ounce bottle, there's between 14 and 16 grams of sugar. So around half, if not less, of what's in a soda. And most of the sugar just comes from the kombucha itself. When we make Buchi, we start with an organic black tea, and we add organic cane sugar to it. We basically just make a big thing of sweet tea. And when we make the kombucha culture and it ferments, most of that sugar gets consumed by the kombucha culture in the fermentation and turned into far more beneficial things like organic acids, B vitamins, but there is some residual sugar left in it, which is what keeps it from tasting like pure vinegar in the end. The goal with kombucha is that you want to balance the sweet and tart at the same time. So there's some sweetness, there's some tartness, but yeah, in a full bottle, to answer your question, there's around 14 to 16 grams of sugar.
Okay, so in preparation for this segment, I made sure I had some popcorn. You know, it was salty and
nice
dry.
Sweet, yeah,
so I get a contrast here for that. So I'd like to try. You served me something yesterday. Was it the sort of most popular flavor? Or is there one popular flavor?
We have a few that are really popular. The one I'd recommend for you is called Sovereign, and Sovereign has got ginger, peaches, and sorghum molasses. And the peaches and the sorghum are both sourced locally from here in the southeast. We called it Sovereign because it raises money for a nonprofit that operates right near DC called the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund, and they're raising money to protect small farmers who are being sued and harassed by the FDA and Monsanto.
Oh, Monsanto, the big GMO company?
The big chemical company which controls almost all the commercial commodity food that's made of corn and soy and beets in this country. And we think that food sovereignty is really something that's at the basis of all human sovereignty. That if we're going to be a sovereign people, we have to maintain the right to grow our own food, to be able to ferment our own food, to trade food with our neighbors. And when companies like Monsanto threaten that right, they're really cutting at like some of the core fundamental human sovereignty issues. So in order to support that, we came out with the flavor. Hey Alex, can you pass me Buchi Sovereign right there? Thanks.
Oh, okay.
But by the way, I just want to mention that you've got a real group here. I mean, this has been a winner, setting it up this way, and it just looks like you're in a lounge. I mean, it's almost like a movable bar, if you will.
So the van that you see behind you, we actually won in a magazine contest through Fast Company magazine. We never could have afforded this kind of swanky setup before. The van we had before this was like crazy old hipster van that was like looked like it might have had free candy written on the side. It was bad. But then we found this contest through Fast Company magazine, and they asked what we would do with a free Sprinter and $10,000 to customize it. And the vision that we put out there was that we think that kombucha, which is a raw, living, healthy food, could actually be something that plays really well in social environments. Bars, clubs, music festivals, nightclubs, events like this, where if you just brand it right, you make it look cool, you give it that craft feel, you roll out with the right kind of aesthetic, you set it up in the right way, that people, when they're out at bars and clubs, would start considering drinking something like kombucha, which is super healthy, detoxifying, great for your digestive system, and fit in still. Plus, the fact that you can mix it with liquor makes it fit in pretty well.
Yeah, there's always that activity, that potential. And I was just at a beer tasting event just last night, and I can imagine you guys as an alternative to beer, for folks who are more health conscious.
We think social beverages actually has become overly constrained as a category, and there's so many things that can be drank as a social beverage that aren't alcoholic. Not that we have anything against alcohol.
I got it.
It's going to be enjoyable. It's just good to have options, so you can kind of
You're right.
set your own menu.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
You want to try some Sovereign?
Yeah, I would love to try some coffee.
We have one called Scoby, which is semi